Forgot the music today. There we go. And my in-game microphone isn't working either. Testing. Okay, we're good. All right. Well, it's pretty much noon. I'm not very good at starting up at my streams. This is like the first time in a while I was actually able to start like right on time. We'll thank that to actually going to bed at a reasonable time last night. I'm not super good at the weekends of actually going to bed at a reasonable time. Well, when I say reasonable time, I work at 6 in the morning, but I have to commute, so I usually get up around 5 and try to leave by like 5:20, 5:30. So on the weekends, I start getting really tired if I stay up till like midnight. So I always end up going to bed at like midnight or 1 in the morning. And then because I don't have to get up and like for any particular reason, I always end up sleeping in. And yeah, a lot of the weekends I end up sleeping till like, I don't know, 10, 11. I've slept in as late as noon. That's a lot of sleep, but yeah. Today I got up at 10, and I actually, instead of procrastinating and taking my time this morning, I actually got up, took a shower, went and grabbed some groceries so I could have a little bit of something to drink and some food and snacks. Got some chips, and yeah, I actually managed to get home and with everything done, said and done, and had like half an hour, which is perfect because Streamlabs just updated, and now it, I don't know how to explain this. Actually, I should probably check. Oh, I can't check it right now. The cropping for it to capture my headset's viewpoint, they changed that whole interface. Before it, my fingers aren't wanting to track. There we go. I always wear my controllers kind of loose, like I don't tighten the straps because I'm always taking them on and off. So the finger tracking isn't always super great. And I've noticed that this pointer finger seems to be the biggest problem. But yeah, anyway. What was I talking about? Procrastinating? Oh yeah, Streamlabs, like the cropping, it's using a different measurement system now. Like before, I would, almost every stream I've had to like reorientate the cropping so that it's centered. But today when I went to do that, I went through the same process I always do, and it didn't work. And I was like, what's going on? And so I go to check the cropping, and instead of it being like, normally I have to set the center and then crop the bottom up, and I'll crop it up to like a value of 78. But when I went to do that now, the value was like 718, and I was like, this used to just go from like 0 to 100, but now it's going to like 1,000. I'm really confused. Also, it looked better. It looked like it was more centered, which it hasn't been in the past, but oh well, I guess. Anyway, that was fun. I guess that whole conversation was just me pointing out that I actually managed to start on time today, even with the hiccups and things that happened. But I wanted to try something. I wanted to try something a little bit new today, because I've talked about this in the past when I do my streams, that I've always kind of thought, I shouldn't say always, I've thought it would be a pretty good idea to get into like some podcasting. And I say that just for two reasons. One, it's another avenue of something that I could be posting on the internet that would help to bring some attention to my streams per se, or just sort of like help to grow some kind of media, just to kind of have some kind of media growth towards any of my social media stuff, right? So I thought that would be a good idea. But also, another reason why I kind of wanted to get into podcasting is because once I get talking about a subject, I don't really stop. I I ramble basically, and I feel like an outlet for that could be podcasting, right? And anyone who's been around my streams for some time will already know this, but also like going way back to when I first sort of had the idea and was talking about it, I had another interesting idea, which I don't listen to a lot of podcasts and I don't watch a lot of streamers. I spend way more time on YouTube than I should, but I know of streaming, and I've definitely done my research on streaming, and I've watched videos and stuff on podcasting and got an idea on that, but I don't actually listen to a lot of podcasts and I don't actually watch a lot of streamers. But I don't feel like, and I could be wrong, I don't feel like a lot of people are streaming their podcasts and then uploading those podcasts, if that makes sense, right? Like, having an interactive podcast sounds like a really cool idea to me. It might be a bit more difficult for a podcast, considering I would assume that the normal podcast setup would be, you know, you're just talking about something, whether it's you and a friend or you and like a co-star or whatever. You guys are talking about something, you record it and you put it up as a podcast, right? But why not do a stream for a podcast, and then when viewers of the stream are putting in their comments on the podcast, you could react, and you could be getting input from viewers live on the podcast. Now, this is something that I'm sure people are doing, but I don't feel like very many people are doing it. But I'm thinking I want to try and gear myself that direction, because I think I really like streaming, and podcasting could help to enforce and push that, right? So might as well, right? So I don't know that this will be a podcast. I shouldn't say that. This isn't going to be a podcast. I'll probably upload it to YouTube and just see but I wanted to practice, right? And since I'm already streaming once a week, and I do 6-hour streams once a week, why not dedicate the first hour of my streams, which is usually no viewers anyway, why don't I dedicate that first hour of a stream to practicing podcasting, right? So I've got my little notebook here, and I'm going to start throughout the week. I'm going to try and look up different topics that I could talk about, things that might be interesting, things that I'm interested in, right? And try and do a little bit of research on each of those topics, find maybe some key points to talk about, and then when that stream happens on Saturday for that week, I can spend an hour just talking about that topic, right? And I think that this could be really good practice for when I actually try to create podcasts, right? And maybe it'll even help to grow my stream, because instead of the first hour being me all right, what are we doing today? I open my stream and it's all right, let's jump to this world, let's jump on these people or whatever. Maybe if I actually have this scheduled thing that I do at the beginning of every stream, I might start getting viewers who are interested and actually waiting for my stream to start, which will help me to actually start my streams on time, because I won't be able to procrastinate, because I know that people are waiting, if that makes sense. Anyway, I think this is a pretty good idea, but yeah, so that's so as far as podcasting goes, that was sort of the idea I had. And then for today, for the hour, I figured I could talk about myself, kind of introduce myself a little bit to anyone who maybe hasn't been to my channel, or people who aren't the regulars that come to my streams. But also I wanted to talk about the podcasting idea that I just had, which is what we just talked about. And then maybe, let's see, what my notebook. Oh, and then maybe what kind of plans we might have for the future. I've kind of already talked a little bit about the plans of the future, when it comes to like podcasting, right? Like I want to practice here, and then if I can get doing this pretty regularly, and maybe if it actually is kind of successful, maybe if people actually do like this, then I'll actually push it into podcasting, right? Like I'll actually start making each one of these into an audio clip, start putting it on. You know, I'm not actually totally sure what all the different podcasting. I know like iTunes has podcasts. Spotify probably has all their podcasts, but there's probably other sites too that I could upload these podcasts to. But yeah, that's sort of like a little bit about what I want to do with the future of this whole podcasting idea. But we could also talk about my ideas for like the future of the channel. Like how am I planning to kind of grow this channel into something that could be, I guess, successful, or at least mildly successful. Hopefully we can actually like continue to grow this channel. It can be something that well, I mean, it already is a regular thing, but yeah. Anyway, so let's see. We talked about podcasting. So I guess let's talk about me for just a little bit, right? So as far as Twitch goes, or as far as, I guess I shouldn't say Twitch, but specifically as far as streaming goes, I have been working since I was a kid. My first job, I was 15 and a half, and the half is important because technically in my state you can't work when you're 15 years old, but because the job was working in potato fields, and the way he paid his employees is he gave them one big fat check at the end, right? Because he doesn't get paid from the farmers until the job is done. So he doesn't start seeing money come in until after a month or more of us actually doing the work, right? Now, if we need money, we could ask him for an advance, but the point is that I was 15 and a half, and I didn't actually get paid until I was 16. So the half is important because technically I didn't get paid until I was 16, so it's still legal. But I did that. That was my first job. And I did that for a couple of years, and then went into fast food, and then I went into I did the oil field and roofing for a little while, and then I did retail. And did I do anything between? Oh yeah, and then I went back to I call it fast food, but it was a restaurant. But I honestly don't see the difference between that and fast food, at least as far as the workers are concerned. I mean, the customer experience is better, but as far as the kitchen is concerned, it was the same kind of environment. It's like move, get stuff done, go, hustle. Like, yeah, it's anyway. And then now I'm working in fabrication. Well, technically I'm a brake press operator, but I work in a fabrication shop where they make these machines for potatoes related stuff. Like one of the machines that they make is a hash brown machine, where basically you feed mashed potatoes into a hopper, and it forms them into shapes, and then they get put on a conveyor belt, and that gets conveyor belt feeds into a thing that cooks them or whatever, so that they can like mass produce hash browns basically. But the point is that I've pretty much just been working since I was 15 years old, right? Well, when lockdown happened, I wasn't at my current job, I was at my last job, but when lockdown happened, I got 6 weeks of time off, unpaid time off. There was the stimulus check, but that didn't really help that much. I still bled through all my savings, but that 6 weeks, I didn't really want to find another job. I figured, I've got money in savings plus the stimulus check. I'll just ride this out and then go back to work once it's over. But with all that free time, for the first week or so, I pretty much just did just whatever. I stayed up late. I played video games. I hung out with friends in video games, and just kind of just pissed away that first week. Just stayed up late, slept in, did whatever I felt like. But then after that first week, I found that I have so much free time, and I had sort of binged out playing video games that I was kind of burnt out. And so I went back to, I shouldn't say back to, but I kind of started playing Vrchat more. And before, I've never really stopped playing VRChat. I think the longest I've gone without booting up VRChat is like a month. But I've always kind of come back to and jumped in this game. But after with all that free time I was having, I kind of jumped back in VRChat and started getting into some more like model making, which I found to be a lot of fun. It's very satisfying as well because like you work on something, you make something, and then you can jump in and show it off to your friends. And I made this whole avatar system for mutes, like where it talks, or I guess it doesn't talk, but it pops phrases out of its head and helps to communicate, helps people who are mute in the game communicate. I'm trying to remember, did I make that system during lockdown? I think I did. I think it was during lockdown that I got most of my progress on that whole thing done. And with all that free time, I thought, you know what? On my computer, I've got just hundreds of gigs of, hundreds of gigs? I think that's right. Yeah, I had a 2 terabyte hard drive, and there was not a terabyte, but there was hundreds of gigs worth of shadow play footage. Shadow play being just recordings from video games that I had saved of things that, like, something cool happens in a game. Shadow play that, right? Like I have World of Tanks clips and I have all these other clips, and so I thought I should really go through these and clean them out. So I spent like 2 days just going through every one of these videos and being like, all right, why did I save this video? Okay, this is why I saved that video. Let's clip it into a little thing and then post that on YouTube, right? And if it was like less than 30 seconds, I just posted it as a short. If it was longer than that, I just posted it as a video, right? Because why not, right? Like I have the video. I'm not exactly like, a creator in the sense that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play this game and make all the. It was just their clips. I thought they were cool. I wanted to share them with my friends, and if I put them on YouTube, they're there forever, right? So I did that with all these videos. It took me like 2 days to get through all of them, and it was fun. And I thought, you know what? Since I have all this free time and I can take these videos and I can post them on the internet, even if they're not very popular, right? I might as well try some other things that I've wanted to do when it comes to like social media as well, right? And so I started watching like a bunch of videos on like how to set up a stream. And because like I've always kind of thought, why don't I stream? Like I have a good computer. I have decent internet. Finally, I went through all kinds of trouble with past internet, but I found the good company in my area, so I've got decent internet. So I've got a good computer, I've got good internet, and I've got all this time that I'm playing video games. I might as well stream it, right? Let's try it, right? And so I started streaming. I can't remember what I think I first started streaming VRChat. I did stream Eco and I streamed Minecraft a little bit, but it didn't feel the same, and I've learned why. We'll get into that in a minute. But I started streaming in VRChat, and the reason I like VRChat is because it's not so much a video game as it is just a social setting. It's a chat room. It's a virtual chat room, and then streaming sort of just enhanced that, because people will come to your stream and they'll come and talk to you and they'll ask you questions like what's up or what are you doing or whatever, right? And it's kind of fun to be able to talk to. I kind of find that for me, the kind of meaningful thing when it comes to life, the reason to sort of like do anything is to connect with people, right? I like connecting with people, right? At least with people that you can connect with. Like, obviously there are people out there that are just, you don't get along with them, but when you find those people that you get along with and you like talking with and having conversations with, I love that, right? And I the idea of trying to grow a community of like-minded people that can all get along and like we can all hang out and talk and chat and whatever, I love that idea. Okay, and so streaming sort of just brought VRChat to another level for me, because now I can hang out in VRChat, I can find people to talk to, and we can sit around and there's all these different people in VRChat. When I say people, like you've got like the people who like to go clubbing, like they hang out in clubs and they drink and they whatever. And then you've got like dancers, who are people who like to put on their full body and dance and listen to music. And you've got mirror dwellers, which is the subcategory I would consider myself to belong to. Mirror dwellers being people who like to go to a nice world and just stand in front of a mirror, which is actually what I'm doing right now. Of course, it's only me here and I'm talking to you guys, but I actually like mirror dwelling because I feel like it helps to encourage conversation. When people are standing in front of a mirror next to each other, people tend to talk, right? Whereas if I go to a world with puzzles or a world that I can explore and see what someone's made, everyone kind of like disperses and runs around and does whatever they're going to do.
We've got hugs and hat pats.
Hey, Ender. Welcome to the stream today. Happy Christmas Eve, he says. Happy Christmas Eve to you as well. Merry Christmas for you tomorrow. Anyway, what was I saying? I got distracted. I should probably turn off sound alerts the next time I do this. So, anyway, I got totally distracted there. What in the world was I talking about? Oh yeah. So with streaming, it was like, you know, Vrchat's a social environment, and streaming just kind of made it so I can chat even more. I can engage with and find even more people to talk to. Okay, and so that was sort of like how I got started with streaming and why I'm continuing to stream. It was far more engaging when during the lockdown, because I had so much free time. I was streaming like every other day, right? I was streaming 3-4 times a week. But now that I'm back to a full-time job, it's hard to stream, but I was like, I want to keep doing this. So I'm going to set aside one day a week that I have to stream. And I'm actually pretty proud of myself of this, because not only did I do it, but I've only missed one day. I've been doing this since lockdown. What was lockdown was in 2020, wasn't it? So I want to say it was like April 2020, and I've only missed 1 week, right? And I'm actually really mad at myself for this too, because I knew that I was going to be missing that day because of a family reunion, and so my plan was to stream like the following Monday, and then I got, I don't know, I distracted or procrastinated or something. I never did, and so I ended up just missing that week, which is a bummer. The sad part is that family reunions are all nice and good and everything, but that family reunion ended up basically being our family just kind of hanging out with our family, right? Like they had some stuff planned, but like people kind of just did whatever they wanted, and so most of the time I was just hanging out with like my dad and like my mom and my brothers and sisters, my brother-in-law, and like the rest of our family was kind of doing their own things. And
we've got hugs and hat pats.
And yeah, it was just Geller and Rose, thanks for the follows. So you guys know what I'm doing right now. I wanted to start out all of my streams for the first hour just talking about a subject, because at some point I'd like to start a podcast, and so this is practice for me to kind of talk to nothing, essentially, right? And when I eventually do actually start uploading podcasts, I do want to stream those podcasts so that people can come and chat and they can talk and we can engage with each other, and actually like sort of have like a podcast that also allows people to sort of like be a part of it. So that's what I'm doing right now. I started 20 minutes ago. Holy crap, it's only been 20 minutes. I feel like I've been talking for an hour already. Oh my goodness. And I still gotta go. Oh, I still gotta go for 40 minutes. Anyway, so far we've talked about sort of just podcasting in general, and now I'm just kind of explaining my history when it comes to sort of just like who I am and why I'm doing this, I guess, right? So I'm kind of just talking about why I started streaming. But yeah, so yeah, I missed that day because of a family reunion, but other than that, I'm actually really proud of myself. I've managed to stay streaming once a week, every week. So every Saturday, I stream for 6 hours. It used to be Monday. I actually used to stream Monday, but that was when I worked at a restaurant, and I got Mondays off because Monday and Tuesday were really slow days, so they didn't schedule very many employees, and so my boss was okay with me taking every Monday off. I want to say I had every. Was it just what day did I know I had every Monday off, but I want to say I had another day off too. I can't remember if I only had I think I had Monday and Tuesday off every week. And then I worked every Sunday, which is funny because my boss really liked that, actually. My boss was like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to give you some Sundays off. And I was like, I don't care if I work Sunday. And now the town I live in is quite religious. And so a lot of people try to get Sundays off. And I'm like, to me, Sunday's just another day. I don't care if I have to work Sunday. In fact, Sunday's not a particularly hard day either. So it's like, I don't really mind. I'll work Sundays if you want me to work Sundays. And then I want to say I asked if I could get some set days off, and they gave me Monday and Tuesday. I think that's what it was. But in any case, I streamed every Monday then. But then when I switched jobs, I had to switch it because I now work every Monday to Thursday. And so Friday, we do a movie night in my Discord, and then every Saturday, I stream. So yeah, that's that. But streaming during lockdown was a ton of fun. I met a lot of other streamers. I was hanging out with a bunch of these streamers. Mostly I was just tagging along though, which is why I don't hang out with them much anymore. Because for the most part, I would just kind of join on them. They'd say hi. They'd be really nice, and they'd all be just talking about whatever they're talking about. And I was never really engaged in either of their conversations. And it kind of felt like, it sort of felt like to me like I was gaining some popularity at the time, right? Like I went from only having like one viewer a stream to having like 15 viewers every stream. And it only took like, I want to say like a week, and I was just kind of like, well, maybe 2. It took a couple weeks, and 15 viewers to me was huge. Like I was so excited that like every stream I was averaging like 15 viewers, and that was enough that there was always someone engaged in chat. It was quite the thing for me, right? And so I had a bunch of people
We've got hugs and hat
who
pats.
would come, who will like, I don't want to say hang out with me. It wasn't that anyone would come and hang out with me, but I sort of like met all these different streamers that were streaming, and they like sort of accepted me in their social circles, and I didn't feel like I fit in, right? And a lot of the people that would hang out with these streamers weren't streamers themselves. It was just people who were like fans of them. And I felt like a leech, basically. I felt like when I would come and hang out with these people, it was just me trying to hang out with them to try and like, and I didn't like that. And so I've kind of stopped hanging out with a lot of these streamers, right? Like it's one thing to hang out with another streamer, like, and you're doing like a collab or something, or to hang out with someone who also streams, but you know, you're friends with them, and so you hang out with them because the two of you like to hang out and play games together. But these were people that I just met through streaming who also streamed, but like didn't particularly, like, we had no other connection other than that, right? But still, it was quite a bit of fun during lockdown, being able to hang out with all these people, and it felt like this big sort of like streamer community, and it was really cool and fun. But since lockdown, I feel either I'm not hanging out with these groups anymore, and I don't know where they are anymore, or because lockdown is over, there's just less and less people doing it. Vrchat has started feeling a lot more like I'm just coming and just kind of wandering around and streaming, and there's no real sort of like direction to my streams, which is why part of the reason why I wanted to start this, right? So like I said, the first hour of all my streams now, I'm going to pick a topic and then just try and talk about that topic for an hour. So today it's podcasting, sort of introducing myself, and then maybe like the future of the channel, and then next week, who knows what it's going to be. I haven't done the research just yet onto like what the topic will be, but it could be anything, right? Well, I shouldn't say it could be anything. I'm gonna kind of avoid like really hot topics. Like I like having conversations with people, but if you talk about like politics, race, or religion, I find that those topics tend to be very heated topics and always lead not from a conversation but more towards an argument, right? And so it's things that I don't like talking about that always end in arguments are things I probably won't talk about on my podcasts. But things like, I might talk about, like, one thing I was thinking might be an interesting thing to talk about are different like taboos, because there are a few different like things that I do that people think are really weird, and I don't understand why. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of like talk about the things that I do that people consider to be kind of like weird or a taboo. But maybe there are some other things that people do that people consider to be like a taboo, that it's, when you look at it analytically, is it really that big of a deal, right? That'd be kind of a fun topic. We could talk about like maybe some like conspiracy theory things, because those are always kind of entertaining to talk about. But yeah, that's kind of like my ideas when it comes to like how we'll do podcasting and stuff like that. But yeah, well, we have like a lot of time. I actually, Azzy, you're so right. I've been sitting here talking for 30 minutes and my voice is probably sounding kind of raspy. It might also sound a little bit just because I woke up only like an hour or so before the stream, so. Oh, that drink is sour. It's very sour. I got a dragon fruit energy drink. I don't know if I like dragon fruit or not. Also, Yushina, thanks for the follow. Rose and Geller, I thanked you guys for the follows already. Thanks. Welcome to the channel. This is like, maybe I should just rant and talk like this more often. My channel seems to be doing okay at the moment. Yushia, hello. Anyway, so what have we talked about so far? We kind of talked about podcasting. I kind of introduced myself a little bit. We talked about sort of like, oh, hold on. I just chugged a whole bunch of soda and now I needed to burp. Anyway, should we talk about sort of like the future of the channel next? That seems like a logical thing. I kind of have to talk about it for like 30 minutes though. What kind of content do I make? Most of the stuff that I make is just on streaming. I have a YouTube channel, but pretty much everything on there at the moment is just clips. Like something funny happens or like something cool happens in a game or something, so I just make it and put it on my YouTube. I do want to start putting better content on there, but I am just sort of like not sure how to do that yet. What we're doing right now will probably be something I start putting on my YouTube, because I'm not putting anything on YouTube at the moment. So I'll probably, this first like hour segment where I'm just kind of talking, I'll probably just start putting that on YouTube, because putting something on there is better than nothing. But most of the time and most of the content that I do is just chill, relaxing stuff. Right? The idea being that I feel like most people, at least in my case, I feel like a lot of people that are watching streamers aren't just sitting there with like a bowl of popcorn, just sitting there and watching the stream, right? Like, I'm sure that like bigger streamers got plenty of people and that's what they're doing. They're like, oh, I can't wait to watch this streamer. And so what they do is they pull it up on their big screen and that's all they do, right? I feel like most people are putting it on like another monitor or even just putting it on in the background, and then they're playing their video game, right? Like they're playing Minecraft or they're playing Valheim or they're playing whatever it is that they're playing, but they just kind of want something in the background. I know that's what I do whenever I'm playing a game. It's hard for me now, and getting another monitor didn't help with this, but it's hard for me to now just sit and play a video game without something happening, right? Like I need to have a video, or I need to be in a chat room with someone. It's hard for me to just focus on just a video game now. I need some kind of background noise. Even music is good, which yeah, so like I should probably honestly be putting music on in the background more, because I need to be working on my focus. Because I'll sometimes like open up like Valheim. I've been trying to make some progress in Valheim. Sometimes I'll pull that up, and as long as I don't have anything else going on, I'll be able to make some steady progress on that game. But then if I pull a video up, I always end up doing this, right? The game's here, and on my second monitor I got like this video, and next thing you know, I'm spending hours just getting sucked into the YouTube algorithm and not doing anything here, right? And so I have the channels I like. I should probably be doing that, but but the point being that most people I feel like are playing something else and then they're putting a stream on in the background. So most of the stuff I create, I do with that in mind. And I just chill and relax. I just chill and relax in Vrchat. I put on like music like this, and just try and find people to hang out with and talk with and have conversations with. So in Vrchat, what do? Just hang out mostly. Ideally, what this is really hard to do, and eventually I'm probably going to try and get away from this, but it's really hard in Vrchat to just go and hang out with people like in public lobbies for two big reasons. The first being that there's like a taboo when it comes to streamers. For whatever reason, people don't like being recorded, right? They'll hang out in public lobbies, but then if they find out someone's recording or someone's streaming, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I didn't give you permission to stream me. It's like, well, I mean, if you don't want to be on the stream, that's fine, right? Like, I get that, but they act like it's this thing where they didn't give their consent, therefore I'm not allowed to record them. And it's like, you're in a public video game, right? Like if someone was streaming Call of Duty Warzone, right, and you were on their stream in Call of Duty Warzone, you wouldn't get mad or offended. But for whatever reason, Vrchat, people get all like uppity about it, like that's not allowed. And it's like, I believe Vrchat's terms of service actually says that if you are streaming and someone asks you, you're not allowed to like lie about it. Like, you need to be straightforward. But it also doesn't say that I have to go to a lobby and then inform everyone in that lobby that I'm streaming, right? So finding people to just have conversations with, like good conversations, specifically deep conversations. I really love getting into like a nice deep conversation, right? Finding people like that is really kind of difficult, because you find some cool people, you start having a conversation, you're having a good time, and then they find out you're streaming and it's all of a sudden like weird, right? So if I could somehow grow my channel to a point where like we actually have a bit of a following, I feel like this kind of thing would be a lot easier, right? Because now, instead of like having to try and find people and have good conversations with, I could actually like, you know, we might have like a bunch of people that come and hang out with us, right? Like we could start hanging out in Friends Plus lobbies, and like people will just kind of join on us, and we can start having good conversations naturally, instead of having to like go and find people to hang out with and talk with, right? Like, this is basically what I'm talking about, is what we're gonna do in like 30 minutes, 40 or 20-30 minutes, right? Where I usually like to go hang out. Like, I have certain worlds that I tend to go to, where we tend to find more chill people, as opposed to like the typical Vrchat public lobby where it's just chaos, right? Like, it's so public lobbies are, I always tell people, if you start playing Vrchat, you need to understand that it's sort of a multi-layered game. When you first join and you're jumping around public lobbies, especially if you're just jumping around the lobbies that have high population, you're going to find just every kind of person. And the loud people are the people that are going to stand out, right? You're going to have people running around in like toxic or memey avatars, and then there's probably going to be a few people in that lobby that are the quote-unquote mirror dwellers, the people kind of just hanging out in the corner by a mirror and just chatting, right? And the lobbies can just be utter chaos, right? And you'll run into crashers, and you'll run into all kinds of stuff. And if you're into that kind of chaos, that's great, that's fine, it's whatever, right? That's sort of what high public servers are, right? But sort of like the next layer, the sort of like deeper layer, is if you kind of get past that and just keep playing Vrchat, you're going to make some friends, but you're also going to kind of learn the types of lobbies that have those kinds of people versus the kinds that don't. And so if you want to start hanging out in the lobbies that are more chill and relaxed, you're going to start noticing the game is a lot less chaotic and a lot less memey, and you're going to start making friends that, you know, that could be like lifelong friends, like people who you can just come and you can hang out with and you can talk with and you can chat with, and like the people that you really want to kind of like be around, as opposed to the people who you're like, I'm just going to get on and goof around and, you know, whatever. And then sort of like the deeper layer of that is once you actually start sort of like making some of these deeper friendships, you start only hanging out in Friends Plus lobbies. Friends Plus lobbies being lobbies that you only friends can join and only their friends can join, right? So the only way into these lobbies is to know someone or be friends with someone who is already in these lobbies. The Friends Plus lobbies, especially like in the olden days of Vrchat, like 3-4 years ago, Friends Plus lobbies were known as like the good lobbies. And then well, what's the stigma? Public lobbies are chaos. Friends Plus lobbies are like the wholesome zone, and invite lobbies are sort of like the not wholesome zone, right? Like if people are only hanging out in invite lobbies, they might just be hanging out. It might be that like there's 5 or 6 people and they want to hang out, and they're worried about who's going to join on their friends, and so they just hang out in invite lobbies so that just them can hang out by themselves, right? But invite lobbies have this sort of stigma behind them that's where you go to ERP, right? That's where people go to do things that they don't want other people to know about, right? And that was sort of like how it was. Nowadays, I feel like that stigma is still there, actually, to be honest. I was going to say it's different, but I don't think it is. Friends Plus lobbies is sort of like the goal. Play Vrchat long enough to kind of like make a bunch of friends and start hanging out in those Friends Plus lobbies, and the game suddenly changes, right? It's no longer a joking, memeing sort of like feel. I feel like a lot of streamers get their success. The streamers that have had success with Vrchat, I feel like a lot of that success is by doing exactly that. They're trying to entertain an audience. They're trying to just make people laugh, and so they just do stupid stuff, and that's all they do, right? And I mean, to be fair, I feel like Vrchat sort of got known because of that. I feel like, who was it? There was a streamer who created the Knuckles meme, and it exploded in Vrchat, right? Like Vrchat didn't have a lot of people coming, and then that happened. I think that streamer actually got banned. I don't know the streamer's name, so you'll have to maybe look this up for yourself. And I could be way off base. I'm just ad-libbing based off of the stuff that I've heard from people in Vrchat. But this whole Knuckles meme became a thing, and tons of people were just jumping on it. And people would see the videos on YouTube, and they'd see the streamer, and they're like, oh, I wanted, so they download the game. This looks like fun, and then they run around and do stupid stuff. And again, that's its own sort of fun. But I'm more of the controlled chaos, I guess. Like if we're gonna do something like that, to like do a joke or have a lot of fun and run around in public lobbies, I'd rather they call it raiding. If you guys anyone who hasn't played much Vrchat, there's something called raiding, which is basically everyone gets in the same model or same avatar or similar types of model or an avatar, and you get a bunch of people together, and then you start jumping around public lobbies. And it doesn't have to be toxic. It doesn't have to be like, sometimes they are, like the Knuckles one was toxic, but what's that group called? The Hapu Foundation? I think there's a bunch of different groups, but the Hapu Foundation is the one that I've actually participated in. But there's an avatar called Hapu's, and all these people will get together, and I want to say they'll usually be in like a Discord call with each other, but you don't have to be. Like a lot of them will be in a Discord call together, and they'll meet up in this Hapu Foundation world, and they all get into a Hapu avatar. And there's tons of different Hapus. This has been going on for a long time, so now there's just like a metric ton of these avatars, and they'll all have a different, like, one of these Hapus. And then what they do is they go to a public world, and they'll find somebody, right? Whether they knew about this person ahead of time, because like sometimes like someone will be like, hey, let's get this person, like they're a friend of mine, let's get them, right? But other times they'll just go to a random lobby, and someone in this Discord call will be like, hey, let's get such and such. And then every one of these Hapus just goes and they swarm this person, right? And when I say swarm, I don't mean like cover them or like get right up on top of them. They'll just hover around this person and just stare at them, which is especially funny because the Hapus have these really big eyes, big round, big pupil eyes, right? And they all just come and hang out and just follow this person around. If he jumps to another world, they jump to the other world with them, right? As best they can. Well, actually, did they jump to another world? I don't know if they follow a person outside of the world, but at the very least, they'll just follow someone around, and it's kind of like crazy and weird, and then they're like, what's going on, right? But it's harmless. It's harmless fun, and they'll do it for like 10-15 minutes, and eventually they'll drop a portal to the Hapu Foundation, which is that world where they have all these avatars and where they like to meet up, and they'll try and coax this person, hey, come with us, without speaking. They'll be like, come with us, come through the portal. And if the person does go through the portal, all the Hapus go through the portal, and then they try and, I want to say one of the people will actually talk. They'll actually talk at this point, and they'll just be like, oh yeah, no, here's what we do. We like to take people around, and we like to raid people. If you'd like to join, go ahead and join us. And like, they'll see if they, it's harmless fun. Dreamland just joined us. Hey, Dreamland, what you up to? I like your avatar. What you up to today? Yeah, this is a really old world that we're in right now. I made this back when I first started playing Vrchat, so it's still using like the old buttons. Oh, hold on. I might not have your avatar. Oh, your avatar shown. Are you drawing? I can't tell you. I think I got a little bit distracted there talking about all that Vrchat stuff, but sort of like the future of like streaming and stuff like that, to kind of talk about that a little bit. The big thing that I'm sort of trying to do right now is I want to get off of using I don't know if public avatars is the right word. I just realized my window's open and I can hear a bird. I thought it was part of the music. This avatar I'm using right now isn't so much a public avatar as it is an avatar that you can purchase, but anyone can purchase this avatar. So using this model as sort of my channel's model doesn't make a lot of sense, because anyone can buy this model and use this model. It's not my model, right? And then there's the Lou model that I use all the time, and that model is again just a public free model. It's been in Vrchat for a while. My version's been modified. Like I remade it from the ground up so that I could do more editing to it, like outfit changes and stuff like that, which I never actually got around to. But I would like to have a model that is my model, right? And then once I have that, I could actually, I'll use that in Vrchat, but I want to also be able to play some other games, right? Sort of my plan right now is every Saturday I will continue to stream Vrchat, and that'll sort of be like our social stream. That'll be the stream where people can come and hang out and we can talk and have conversations and whatever, right? And I'm not going to stop that. But on another day, especially if I can get some free, for example, Sundays, I usually just kind of hang out and play video games on Sundays. But if I had a model that was my model, I could set it up for VTubing and we could say play Minecraft on Sundays, right? And then that model, that avatar would sort of be like our connection, right? So when I'm playing another game, I actually can like put my model in that game, right? And so that model sort of connects the different things, right? And that's sort of like the big hurdle I'm trying to get over right now, which I'm finding to be time consuming, but also yeah. I'm also finding that commissioning is time consuming, but it's also kind of expensive. My original plan, I jumped on Fiverr and I'm trying to commission people to sort of draw up what I have in my head for what would be a good model. But I don't want to spend too much money on like a single artist, because you never really know like what they're gonna sort of come up with. So that's good. So I'm trying to commission a lot of cheaper ones. So most of my commissions have been like, I did one commission for like $5. I definitely got $5 of quality on that one though. But most of them are like 15, $20, right? For these commissions. And one of them came out okay. I'm kind of happy with one of them, but I'm thinking right now about either commissioning that artist again to try and get another angle of that same model that they drew. Because they did a really, not only did they sort of like understand and mostly draw what I was looking for, but they also were like really cool about it. Like I only paid to have one model made, but they drew 4. They did a sketch of 4 different models and were like, okay, so here's 4 different ideas I came up with. Tell me which one you like the most. And I was like, oh, I like this one the most. I'm like, okay, cool. So they finished drawing that one up into like a completed sketch image with color and everything. And I was like, that was pretty cool. They went above and beyond. So I want to commission that person again because I feel like they deserve it. But I'm going to have to commission a more expensive person to actually like draw in a much more high-res detailed version of this model. Because like this artist doesn't put a ton of detail into like different things. And then, yeah, so that's where I'm going with the model. But then after I get like sort of like a good drawing of what I want, I'm going to have to commission somebody to create a character sheet, which is sort of like a front, back, and side detailed drawing exactly what I want the model to be, which I will then give to a 3D modeler. And up to the character sheet point, like we're talking like hundreds of dollars. But then to go to the 3D modeling, it starts going into the thousands of dollars, right? So there's the time factor, because when I commission these people, like I might not get the art back for a week, and then it might not even be what I want, because I've already got 4 or 5 different, I think I've got 5 different drawings, and only one of them is sort of what I'm looking for. Yeah, anyway, that's sort of like one of the big goals I'm trying to do. But then also I want to kind of clean the stream up, get some better overlays, because like all the transition and overlays are just stuff that I slapped together using Photoshop. I did a little bit of stuff in After Effects, but I don't really know or understand After Effects, so like totally amateur. And so I just kind of like put some stuff together just so I could have transitions and screens, but I'd like to pay someone to actually make some good looking ones. There's the whole podcasting idea, which I've already talked to you guys about, how I want to spend the first hour of every one of my streams just kind of talking. And then if this is popular and if this kind of goes off, then we'll keep doing this, and I'll actually like start turning them into real podcasts, and maybe even go so far as like one idea I had was to make a podcasting world. And we could actually like do the podcast in that world, and it would be really cool. I haven't figured out how to do this, but it would be really cool if I could somehow figure out how to put chat actually like in the world, right? I think it's possible, but I don't actually understand entirely how to do it, because like in Unity they have this web-based UI thing where you can actually like plug websites into a script, and you could technically put it on your avatars, but Vrchat's blocked it because it was sort of like a big security concern having that on models, and it allowed people to do things with the in-game VRChat code that was bad. So they don't allow you to use that module on models, but you can still put it in worlds, which gets uploaded to the server. I don't think that creates this loophole. So I don't understand why I couldn't use that web-based sort of like UI script and link it to like my chat on my Twitch, and then we could actually like, I could like be in a world, we could have like a table, and I could actually like do podcasts at the table, and then as chat's going, it would actually be like on its own dedicated screen in front of the table, which would be really cool. Like how fun would that be if like you actually could like listen to a podcast, and then you know when these podcasts are going to be, like every Saturday at noon there will be this podcast, and you can actually tune into the podcast when it's live and actually contribute in chat and like participate in that podcast. And then that podcast, say maybe gets uploaded the next Monday, and then you can listen to the podcast and actually like, I think that's pretty cool. I think that would be really fun. I just got to figure out the logistics on how to do that. I say a lot, don't I? I'll have to try and get out of the habit of saying so much, as I do it again. Maybe we'll have a whole podcast where we just talk about things like saying all the time, or different speech things that people do that they sort of can't help, like saying or would be another one. I've noticed that I gotta remember exactly what it was, but in the English language, there's actually something that it's a word that people just don't really use in the English language. They kind of just skip it. Oh man, I'll have to figure out what that'd be a fun topic to talk about on a podcast. It's just speech things. Let's see, what else did I want to sort of like do for the future of the channel? There's the whole podcasting idea. I need to be uploading things to my YouTube, which we talked about a little bit, but I can start putting these on YouTube. These could be like the video version of the podcast I could be uploading to the channel. And then I want to clean up the stream, actually get like some nice transitions and some good images. I was going to wait until I had the model, but that's one of those things that seems like it's so far off because of just how much money and time I'm going to have to invest to actually get a model like good to go and ready to go. But the thought process was if I can get the model, I could pay someone to make transitions and screens, stuff like that, and use the model as sort of the basis, right? Like, hey, can you draw an overlay? I almost said background. Can you draw an overlay and use this avatar as sort of like the theme, kind of like match the overlay to kind of like go along with this model, right? But I might just pay. I don't think buying overlays, transitions, stuff like that is especially expensive to commission. So I should probably just do it to kind of make the stream look a little bit cleaner. And then when I get the model, I can just pay someone again later to make different transitions and overlays. It could be fun too. When I actually get the model, I wonder if do you guys think it would be a good idea to do a, what would it be called? Other VTubers do this all the time, where like Hololive does this. I want to say the other like streamer groups do the same thing, where like when they have a new streamer, they do a it's not an introduction. What do they call that? Yeah, I can't even remember. Anyway, you get my point. But when I actually get the model made, should I just start using it, or would it be fun to actually like have a stream where I sort of like do an introduction for like the model? It would be fun to do like a background for the model. Now, I think it's very important, at least for me, I find it to be very important to be very real with my audience. I'm trying to be myself. I'm not trying to put on any sort of act, right? I am me, and these are the things I like to do, and I don't want to sit here and like put on a voice. I'm not going to use, well, I might use a voice changer for doing stupid, goofy stuff, but I'm not like trying to be someone I'm not. I'm trying to be very real and be very genuine. Okay, but that doesn't mean that the model can't have, say, like a backstory to it. That doesn't mean that I can't sort of like be in character sometimes, just for the fun of being in character, right? For example, the model I want made, essentially I want a male version of this model, right? I love these big, oh, actually, you know what? That's something we can talk about, kind of part of the introduction section of what I was talking about. The model that I'm using now and the Lou model, which I oftentimes use, there's a whole history. I've talked about this a bunch on stream, but I've never talked about it for this. We only have like 6 minutes, so maybe we'll end it by I'll talk about the origin of the models that I use and why I use them. Back when I first started playing Vrchat, which was years ago, there wasn't a ton of models in Vrchat. Most of the models that were in Vrchat, at least any of the good ones, were all models that were just imported from, I don't think it's a game, but it's something called MMD models, or I think they're Miku Miku dance models. But basically people were just ripping those models because they were basically just ready to be put into VRChat. Like they were already rigged and set up in a way that was very easy to just put them in VRChat. And so that's any decent models in VRChat were MMDs. I need a drink again. Well, there's an inherent problem with MMDs. They're almost all female. In fact, I don't think there are any male. There might be some now, but at least then it was all female models. So in VRChat, the only time you ever saw people not using a female model was either they were using some big, overly muscular, weird-looking, goofy male, or a low quality, like the fingers were blocky, like they just didn't have very good quality behind them, or it was some kind of meme or joke avatar, like a Scooby-Doo model, or a Knuckles, or someone was running around as a pencil, like whatever, right? Just something that they imported. And so if you wanted a quality avatar, you pretty much had to use one of these MMD models or a variation of it, because a bunch of these MMD models, like people would take sort of like, I think TDA is one of the forms, TDA being just like a style or whatever, and people would take the bodies off of one of these models, of one of these TDA models, and then they would put different clothes on it, or they'd slap a different head on it, and so you get all these different variations. But those are the only models that had any good look to them. Well, eventually I found this Lu model, which had a TDA body, it had a Miku head, and it had an outfit which was made by the person who sort of put it together. And I started using that model, and I liked it because it wasn't an overly sexualized like model. Like this one is a very sexy looking model, but I felt weird at the time using a model like this. And so, but it also, you could kind of see how this model might be considered a male, kind of. Like it had pigtails, so obviously not male, but it wasn't, essentially it was a younger model, right? And so I used that model, and I kind of liked the model, and I sort of just used it more and more. And next thing you know, all my friends, because at this point I was just hanging out in Friends Plus lobbies, most of my friends just kind of knew me because of that model. Right? And so I started doing more and more with that model. I started learning how to do Unity, learning how to do Blender, made a bunch of modifications to the model, and got it like just sort of like, that was when people saw that model. If I joined on my friends, I was the only one that used that model. Without looking at my name, they knew it was me. And that model sort of became my identity. That model was me, right? And anytime I would use any other kind of model or avatar, it didn't feel like me. It felt like I was just like, so you pull out another model and use it for a joke or a meme or whatever, but I would always go back to that model. Okay, and I always kind of wanted to be to have a male model to represent myself as a male, but I could never find a good one, right? And there were some that I saw like, wow, this is really cool. This is like the style I like. This is, and then you'd get in it and it would have like these blocky garbage fingers, or stuff just, there was always something that just like the quality was really bad. And I was just like, nope. And so I just stuck to that model for years and years. And then eventually I found this one. And it was, where did I find it? It was an avatar world called World Museum, I think. Or no, Avatar Museum, not World Museum. What am I talking about? Anyway, Avatar Museum. And as soon as I saw it, I loved the style. But not only did I love the style, it actually goes along with my original model, which has these kinds of horn, like the swirly goat horns. It had elf ears, it had sort of like spiky teeth, has a demon look to it, and I've sort of grown to this sort of like demon aesthetic, and there are certain features that I've sort of attached myself to, and these goat horns, elf ears, and that like demon aesthetic is sort of what I gravitate to. And so I had to purchase this model, right? So I purchased this model. I even bought the additional outfit, which is the one it's wearing now. And now I have a sort of adult version of the original model that I was using in VRChat. Again, though, it's a female model, which I don't have a problem with female models, but if I'm going to have a model which accurately represents me, and I'm going to be using this model for basically the rest of my life, I would like to get a male model. Not to say I won't ever use one of these models again or anything like that, but I would like something that more accurately represents sort of like what I... And so there are a lot more male models than there used to be. And you can go to Avatar Museum, for example. There's a lot of avatars there, which is why I'm using it as an example. But you can find good male models now. That being said, there are still significantly more female models, and you can tell that a lot more attention to detail is being put into those models. So I would like to commission someone to actually make me a good one, and yeah, that's sort of like the history behind why I'm currently using this model, and sort of why I'm also looking to upgrade or move to where I want to go with this in the future, right? So cool. I mean, I think that just about covers everything I wanted to talk about. Geller, hi, how's it going? I think that's an hour. Sweet. We've managed to sit here and talk for a whole hour. My throat hurts. I should probably get some lozenges before I do this next week. Cool. All right. Well, what do we do now? Well, thanks guys for coming and listening to me talk. That's it for the podcasting section of the stream. So now we're just gonna go find somewhere to hang out and chill and see if we can't find some cool people to talk to. Maybe I'll go hang out with what was her name? Gamer guard. I can't remember her name. I was hanging out with someone the other day, and then I became friends with them, and then they messaged me after my stream. Well, technically they messaged me during my stream, but they were like, "Are you streaming?" And I was like, "Oh crap." I was like, I'll message him back later. I'm in the middle of my stream right now. And then I forgot and never did. But people, like I said before, people get weirded out by streaming and streamers.